Hi guys, welcome back to yet another fun DIY video here about good old Athena. This weekend I am joined by my lovely girlfriend Ava.
Hi guys.
Ava was introduced in a previous video. If you want to check that out, there's a link down in the description, and also for patrons we'll have 1 or 2 live streams over the next week or so.
Over the next couple weekends we're going to be working on an osmosis treatment for Athena because, as you know, when Mas first got her she had osmosis, so we're going to be fixing that up.
Yep. These are the products we're going to be using for that osmosis treatment. They're all West System products, and all of these were sponsored by 2 companies, HF Marine and Industri here in Denmark and Wessex Resins and Adhesives in the UK. Doing an osmosis treatment is of course not free. These are somewhat pricey products, and I am very grateful for those 2 companies for sponsoring all of that stuff. There are links for both of the companies down in the description. The osmosis treatment is based around West System's 105 resin, and in this case they're fast hardener because, well, even though it might look warm, summer in Denmark can be quite cold. So to be on the safe side, I've gone with the fast hardener. And then we have this. This is a barrier coat additive. It's known as 422. We'll get back to this in more detail a little later in the video. The process we'll be using is outlined in this manual by West System, and just as with the barrier coat, we'll take a closer look at this a little later in the video.
So we've spent all of today picking up all the supplies, and we just stopped by Athena real quick to drop them off. It's getting pretty late in the day, so we're going to head back to Obelix, take Yuko for a walk, and maybe get some Danish ice cream.
Oh yes, but we'll see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning. Good morning guys! The osmosis treatment is going to be a very big job, so this video is going to be the first in a little series.
This weekend there's going to be a lot of prep work to do, but hopefully we'll be able to get to lay up at least some glass.
The entire hull is going to get a single layer of fiberglass applied to it, and here on the aft section of the hull I've removed about 1 or 2 millimeters of laminate, and that we will need to replace.
The first thing we need to do is get rid of this little bit of anti-fouling on the side of the hull.
I left this little bit of anti-fouling on the hull while the hull dried out to preserve the waterline. Striking a new waterline isn't hard to do, but seeing as the old one is nearly perfect, I figured it would be easier to just go ahead and reuse that.
We're going to be using some masking tape and a small block of wood to temporarily move the water line about 1 inch up the hull.
This is going to be a 2-step process. As you can see here behind me, Ava is busy applying masking tape to the side of the hull. Once we've got masking tape all the way along the side of the hull, we're going to come back with a pencil and draw a thin line to mark the temporary waterline. While Ava is busy taping away, I'm going to get us set up for the glorious sanding that's going to ensue. We're ready to start removing that last little bit of anti-fouling as soon as Ava's done marking the temporary waterline. The fact that the tape looks a little wavy here behind me doesn't matter at all, because it's the pencil line we're going to use to re-establish the new waterline.
I just finished drawing the beautiful temporary waterline while Mas started sanding off the anti-fouling. I'm going to take over the sanding, but first I need some safety gear. We got a reusable mask, some nice looking safety goggles, some filters for the mask, and a Tyvek suit.
Now this is one spiffy looking young lady. Ava's busy sanding here behind me, and on a side note, how freaking lucky am I to have a girlfriend that don't mind doing that? Well, but while she's busy sanding, I can go ahead and start patching some holes. Ava and I have been going over the layout of Athena, and we've decided we only want one head, and that means we're gonna remove the old forward head, which means these 3 holes from old through holes are no longer needed. In a previous video, I put the classic 1 to 12 bevel on this hole over here, but as I just mentioned, we no longer need any of these holes, so I can go ahead and do the same to the remaining 2. Yep, the perfect bevel. In a previous video, I mentioned I was going to reuse these holes here for new through holes because I really like this location. But you know what, given the recent build situation, which you guys saw in the last video, I think we're just going to rethink this entire area. So let's go ahead and grind a bevel on these so they can blast them over. Just a quick check here to see if the bevel is okay, and these look perfectly acceptable to me. There's only one hole left for me to bevel here on the hull, and it's right here. And once that has been beveled and plugged up, I can move it to somewhere else, and I'll have a wider range of seacocks to choose from, because right here there's not a lot of room. So let's go ahead and get this beveled. That was the last hole beveled. Meanwhile, Ava's been sanding off the old anti-fouling on the port side, and she's even gotten started on the starboard side. So now we just need to finish that little bit that's left there.
We're going to switch it up a little bit to save some time. Mass is going to finish sanding the starboard side, and I'm going to start cleaning up the port side with a bucket of soap and water. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure that I don't get the tape wet because we do not want the tape to fall off. You said get the tape really wet?
Yes. This is a bucket of just plain water, no soap, and that's for rinsing after Ava's done scrubbing a section of the hull. We're of course doing this to make absolutely sure there are no contaminants there, so that way tomorrow when we start sanding, we're not spreading around any contaminants. While Ava is scrubbing away, I can get back to some glorious, glorious sanding. I'm done removing that last little bit of anti-fouling, and Ava's almost done washing the hull. I think it's safe to say that we're both pretty excited about getting out of here and getting into a shower, but yeah, I think we've done pretty good today.
Good morning, guys. It's Sunday morning. We're back at Athena. We have a lot of prep work to get to, but we are slowly getting there.
I'll be very happy if we, by the end of today, can get at least some of the laminate laid up here on the aft section of the hull. As I think I might have mentioned earlier in this video, I removed about 1 to 2 millimeters of the old laminate on this aft section here, as you can see by the fuzzy edge here and back here. Now that's certainly not required for all osmosis treatments. I just wanted to err on the side of caution. If your boat has osmosis and you want to do something about it, or maybe you just find the topic interesting, there are some great resources online, and this is one of them. I showed you guys this manual in the beginning of the video, and we're going to go into a lot more detail about the process that's outlined in this in the coming videos. But as for this video, we are a little bit pressed for time because of all of the prep work. So I just wanted to make sure that I showed you guys this once again, and also mention that there is a link for this down in the description, just in case any of you are curious about this. You can go ahead and look up that link. While we are on the topic of manuals, when I first started out using epoxy, I chose to go with Wessex products because of the awesome documentation they have. Any kind of DIY jobs you're going to be doing aboard a fiberglass boat, well, Wessex has a manual for that. There is in particular one manual I can recommend, and it's a great big whopping one at around 156 pages. It's put out by Wessex and it is available for free. I don't have a printed copy of it, but I have a PDF right here on my phone. I'll include a link for that PDF in the description down below, and that manual covers, well, basically everything. And it is awesome if you're first starting out using epoxy, or if you just want to look something up.
Enough yammering on. I'm going to start sanding this aft section of the hull to key the surface to make sure we get a good bond when we lay up the new laminate. When Mas used a gel plane to remove some of the old laminate, it created a jagged edge. So we're just going to have to bevel this edge to create a smooth transition.
While Ava gets to do some glorious sanding, I'm going to go ahead and remove these 3 old through holes. We don't need this one anymore, and these 2, well, I would just like to replace them. I don't foresee those through holes being a big challenge. A quick cut with Mr. Angle Grinder is all that should be needed to get them out of there. That is 1 down, 2 to go. This one looks like it's some kind of composite through hole, so let's just give that a little tap. And just like that, there's only 1 left to deal with. I was hoping I could just twist this off, but it's getting gummed up in all the old sealant, so let's just cut it. There we go, no more old through holes. Let's just take a real quick look at these 2 through holes here. The first one here appears to be bronze, judging by the condition. It looks to be in very good nick, and if it wasn't for all the barrier coat and anti-fouling on this, well, I might just have reused this. The odd thing about this is that it appears someone tried bedding this with Teflon tape. I don't know if that's a common practice somewhere else, but I have certainly never seen it before. As far as the second one, I called this a composite through hole. I don't know if that's actually true because there aren't any markings on here. This might well just be a plastic through hole. But if we take a knife to it, it certainly feels like it is fiberglass reinforced. Tonight aboard Obelix, I'm gonna see if I can find a replacement for this one. This is for the cockpit drain, and yeah, finding a replacement should be relatively easy. I don't want Ava to have all of the glorious sanding fun all to herself, so I guess I better suit up and get busy. It's a couple of very tedious hours later, and this is now silky smooth. The only thing that's left for us to deal with here before we can start laying up glass is this little jagged edge Ava mentioned earlier. You might be wondering why this edge is here, and it's quite simply just because I removed a little bit of extra laminate from this area. As you can see here, we are quite deep, we're into the roving, whereas over here we are still in the chop strand. It might not show up on camera, but the jagged edge that was right here is now all gone. This is a nice soft bevel that we can easily lay glass up over.
We just got back from the hardware store and we are going to make a little fiberglass cutting table. It's okay if it's a little low and awkward. We're not cutting a lot of fiberglass, so it'll be perfect.
We got 2 half sheets of plywood just because they fit better in the car. So now we're just gonna join those 2 together, and this should be, well, perfectly adequate. Makeshift, yes. Borderline ghetto, sure, but it'll do its job. This is 300 gram by actual, and we should have a very easy time getting this to conform to the shape of the hull. We've set up our little epoxy mixing area. All that's left to do is to attach the pump to the resin, and we should be ready to start laying up some laminate. I think I mentioned earlier in the video that I'd ordered the fast hardener, the one that's called 205, because the summers here in Denmark tend to be cold. But I see now that I've actually gotten the 206, which, well, actually turns out to be perfect because the next couple of weeks look like they're going to be very warm. We're going to start in the aft end and work our way forward. Neither Ava nor I have ever tried laying up fiberglass overhead before, so we'll see how this goes. I think we might trim a little off the width of that roll of fiberglass just to make it easier to handle. I think we will start with a piece that is roughly 1 meter by 1.5 meters. We're just mixing up a little bit of epoxy to start with because like I said, none of us have experience laying up fiberglass overhead, so let's just take this nice and slow. I'm gonna wet out the surface of the hull here so that hopefully the fiberglass we're laying up will just stick to the hull right away. But like I said, we've never tried this before, so let's see how it goes. Got it?
Yep.
Okay, well, it looks like that's sticking pretty well. Let's go ahead and get this wetted out. While I'm busy wetting out this piece, Ava is cutting the next piece of fiberglass. A girlfriend is certainly very handy to have for overhead fiberglass work. We've got 3 layers of 300 gram biaxial on here now, and that should make up for the bulk of the laminate I removed, except for the area right here where I removed some extra, so we're going to add that onto there now. This is the last little piece of fiberglass that needs to go on this section, and then this is done. While I was wetting out the 2 last patches here, Ava got busy cutting some peel ply. And peel ply is of course going to be a tremendous help here, because that is what's going to make sure we won't have to sand this, at least not as much as we would without peel ply, but we'll get back to that in the next video. We are so close to being done. We only need to apply peel ply to this last little section here, and then we're done replacing the laminate I removed with the gel plane about a month ago. Just like last year when we were laying up laminate up on deck, I completely underestimated how time consuming it is to lay up laminate. I mean, this little section, although it's 3 layers, it's taken us maybe 5 hours. I am very excited about the fact that the rest of the hull is just going to need a single layer of fiberglass. Now, the reason for applying that single layer of fiberglass and also a more in-depth look into the osmosis treatment, that is going to have to wait until the next 2 videos. And just like that, we are done for today. That was a pretty tough day.
That was a hard one.
Yeah, but at least tomorrow is going to be just as bad, so that's nice. We're going to continue plucking away at the hull, and we'll see you guys next weekend. And those of you who are patrons, we hope to see on Wednesday for the live stream. There are details down below. And yeah, I think that is going to be it for this video. As always, feel free to leave a comment down below. And don't forget, if you've liked this video, remember to leave a like. See you.
See you. This weekend? No. Okay. Do I look like I'm standing up straight?
Yes.
Okay. This weekend it's going to be a lot of prep work, but hopefully we'll be able to get to some lay.
Okay.
Should I do it again?
Yep, try getting at least some glass.
At least some, but hopefully we'll get to lay up at least some glass.
Yeah.
But hopefully we'll get to be able to lay up at least some glass.
You're doing so good.
The last thing we need to do is
The first thing.
The first thing we need to do is get rid of this little bit of it. Started sanding off the whatever. What?
Anti-fouling?
Anti-foul. Okay. I just finished drawing the full temporary water line while Mas was starting to sand.
Okay, you got this. You got this.
Just do it.
Just insert the knife and
Okay.
you gotta get it in between the cardboard.
Ready?
Yep. Yep, you gotta turn the knife the right way around. You can't laugh while doing it.
You ready?
Yep. See, once you start...
Well, this is no knife to be opening up a box with, okay?
It's the one I use in every episode. Okay, once you do it, you're committed, so you gotta go through, right?
Okay.
Even if it fails.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right, we got a
Not all right.
That is my personal style.
But no.
Okay.
Now this is one spiffy young look. Whoa. And if you put your gloves up here, this is one spiffy looking young lady.
The most important thing is to stay away from the tape. Whoa! Whoa! Is it making you nervous?
Little bit.